In 2010, I decided to make a journey to the South Pole. I started to look at the internet for available tours. My eye fell on a cruise called the Atlantic Odyssey. This journey does not only take you to the South Pole, but much further. The Atlantic Odyssey starts in Ushuaia. From Ushuaia you sail across Drake Passage to the Antarctic Peninsula. Then you sail to South Georgia. On South Georgia a couple of landings are included. Next you sail to Gough Island. From Gough Island the journey goes to Tristan da Cunha archipel. There you will visit the islands Tristan da Cunha, Inaccessible and Nightingale. Saint Helena is the next island to be visited. Then the Odyssey takes you to Ascension. You can end your journey at Ascension, where you will fly back to England with the RAF. If you stay on board, then the Atlantic Odyssey ends in Cape Verde. I chose to disembark at Ascension. It is March 21st, 2011. We are at Schiphol ready for the plane to Rome. The flight, which lasts 2 hours, goes smoothly. But at the airport in Rome it turns out that the plane to Argentina is not present. Due to a radar malfunction, it could not depart from Argentina. This meant a 24-hour delay. We had not expected this. Fortunately, the airline arranged a hotel. The next day in the afternoon we could finally depart for Buenos Aires. From Buenos Aires it's another 5-hour flight to Ushuaia. The 24-hour delay meant that we lost a day of birding in Ushuaia. But we still have 2 days that we can spend in Ushuaia before the Atlantic Odyssey begins. We will visit Tierra del Fuego and take a boat trip on the Beagle Channel. Our goal is to see as many species as possible in these 2 days. Let's go birding! On March 27th, the time has finally come. The Atlantic Odyssey begins. In the morning we board the ship the Plancius. After the necessary safety instructions, the anchor is lifted. Slowly, we sail out of the harbour towards the Beagle Channel. Then the real work begins. We approach the Drake Passage. The infamous crossing via the Drake Passage to the Antarctic Peninsula begins and will take 2 days. The Drake Passage is known for its fierce storms and rough seas. I was already looking forward to it, although I must confess that I have never been seasick. The first day was a bit of an anticlimax, because there was hardly any wind. The waves were not high and the sun was shining. Despite the weak wind, we already saw many seabirds. The next day, the Drake Passage lived up to its reputation. Strong winds and high waves made the ship move up and down. This was how I had imagined it. In the morning, when I wake up, we are sailing in the waters of Antarctica. The boat rocks heavily, indicating that it is stormy outside. From the aft deck, I see high waves like walls of water passing by the ship. The ship rolls significantly, and sometimes you have to hold on tight. For the seabirds, it doesn't matter. Albatrosses and petrels are flying around in abundance. The joy on board is great when the first snow petrels are spotted. However, that joy turns into disappointment when it becomes clear that we cannot land on the Atlantic Peninsula due to the bad weather. We decide to stay around for a day and see if the weather improves tomorrow. The next day, the weather is so bad that we are not even allowed to go outside. All the doors are locked and we stay inside all day. The crew is busy all day keeping the deck free of ice. We shelter behind an iceberg all day. The following day, the weather is still terrible, but we are allowed outside again. It is announced that we will leave the waters of Antarctica as soon as possible. Fortunately, we can enjoy the snow petrels again today. We leave the icy waters of Antarctica and begin the 2-day journey to the mysterious South Georgia. As we sail north, we feel the cold slowly disappear, replaced by a more pleasant breeze. During the journey, we are accompanied by a breathtaking spectacle of seabirds flying behind the boat. The impressive numbers of Antarctic cranes in particular leave us in awe. Suddenly, we are surprised by a cattle egret appearing above the boat. It's an unexpected sight. You wonder what this bird is doing here, so far from its usual habitat. After flying above the boat for hours, it finally lands. The poor creature is exhausted and weakened, and it is clear that it is doomed. For the full 2 days of the crossing, we intensely enjoyed the view from the aft deck of the Plancius. On April 3rd, we approached the majestic South Georgia. In the distance, the impressive peaks of the mountains are already clearly visible. We will spend the next 3 days in the beautiful surroundings of this large island, with various exciting landings on the agenda. The highlight of our trip is undoubtedly the encounter with the imposing colonies of king penguins. Additionally, we hope to spot the southernmost songbird, the rare South Georgia pipit. Naturally, there are also many other fascinating species of penguins and seabirds to admire. A special landing is planned at Great Viken, where the legendary explorer Shackleton found his final resting place. At Stromness, we will step back in time and explore an old whaling station. We are leaving South Georgia and setting course for the mysterious Gough Island. The journey of 2,500 kilometers will take 5 days. As we sail further north over the vast Atlantic Ocean, new species present themselves, and we are treated to breathtaking views. When we woke up in the morning, the ship was anchored off Gough Island. We immediately rushed to the deck and were greeted by enormous gusts of wind. These so-called katabatic winds, air currents that descend from the mountaintops of Gough, were so powerful that we quickly had to go back inside. We were assured that the wind would die down and that we could take a zodiac cruise around the island. Although it's not allowed to land on Gough, we had a beautiful view of the birds from the zodiacs. The northern rockhoppers were especially breathtaking. This is without a doubt the most beautiful penguin species I have ever seen. After the successful Zodiac cruise and a chum session at Gough Island, we weighed anchor and set course for Tristan da Cunha, a journey of about 400 kilometers. During the voyage, we learned that the Greek bulk carrier MS Oliva had run aground on rocks near Nightingale Island on March the 16th, carrying 65,000 tons of soybeans. This spilled approximately 1,500 tons of heavy fuel oil and 70 tons of diesel fuel into the ocean, severely impacting the northern rockhopper colony on Nightingale Island and potentially jeopardizing our landings on the island. It was getting exciting. Tristan da Cunha is the most remote inhabited island in the world, with approximately 300 inhabitants, mainly in its own settlement Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. We're now close to Tristan da Cunha and expectations are high. The conditions seem favorable for a landing on Tristan da Cunha, one of the 3 islands in the archipelago. However, a landing isn't guaranteed and is often impossible due to high waves or bad weather. With the oil spill on our minds, it doesn't feel any better. The ship anchors at the island and it's determined whether a landing is possible. After an eternity, we get the green light. Everything is prepared for the landing and we board the Zodiacs that take us to the island. The target species on the island is the Tristan thrush. We were informed that there weren't many left because of the rats that humans brought in the past. It certainly wasn't easy, but together with an Englishman I managed to find 2 birds. We reported the sighting to the rest of the group by walkie-talkie. Fortunately, this species was in the pocket. We also saw several Antarctic terns, but there were no other birds to be seen on the island. We stayed on the island all day and visited a shelter for the victims of the oil spill. We saw a few hundred northern rockhoppers covered in oil. Later, we had a pint in the pub. In the afternoon, we returned to the Plantius. All attention was now focused on the next day and the landing on Inaccessible Island. During the evening briefing, a possible landing was cautiously mentioned. The name Inaccessible says it all, and no one on board really expected a landing. On all previous Atlantic Odysseys, landings have only been once. Early in the morning, we anchored and saw the 449-meter high cliffs of Inaccessible Island. The biggest problem with landings is the ever-present high waves. And landings are only possible in very calm seas. A Zodiac with the expedition leader on board went to take a look at the conditions. Meanwhile, we waited anxiously for the decision. The Zodiac returned and we all had to go to the lounge for a briefing. We were told that the conditions were favorable for a landing and we had to prepare to board the Zodiacs. The joy among the passengers was palpable. One of the species on the island was the Inaccessible Island Rail, the smallest existing flightless bird in the world. This endemic bird is only seen by very few birdwatchers. The Inaccessible Island finch and Tristan thrush can also be seen on the island. Once on Inaccessible, the search for the rail began in the tussock grass vegetation. The Inaccessible Island finch and the subspecies of the Tristan thrush were spotted almost immediately. The Tristan thrush in particular was very numerous and very tame. You really had to be careful not to step on one. That's what it must have looked like on Tristan Island in the past, I thought. After at least an hour of searching, we still hadn't seen the rail, and it looked like we wouldn't find the species. 2 Swedish women who had walked to the far end of the island said they'd seen a small black bird there. Little attention was paid, but luckily someone went to check the spot anyway. In the distance, we saw him waving his arms. It was clear, he found something. About 40 birdwatchers ran over the boulders and rocks to the spot, and there, in the low reeds, an Inaccessible Island Rail was walking. The bird was walking among the reeds and was occasionally visible. Some of the Englishmen had tears of joy rolling down their cheeks. I managed to take a few blurry photos of the rail. However, the waves began to increase in size, and the expedition leader asked me if I wanted to get in the first Zodiac to return to the ship. I agreed, but during the crossing, a walkie-talkie message asked where I was. Meanwhile, a second bird had been found, and they were both now walking freely into view. It was a shame, but I was happy with the sighting and the landing on the island. The day wasn't over yet, and in the afternoon, a visit to Nightingale Island with a possible landing was on the agenda. The island is home to one of the world's largest concentrations of seabirds, with 125,000 breeding pairs of northern rockhoppers and 2 million pairs of great shearwaters. Our target species were the endemic Nightingale Island finch, Wilkinson's finch and the subspecies of the Tristan thrush. On board, the discovery of the Inaccessible Island Rail was celebrated extensively. Upon arrival at Nightingale, the same procedure as at Inaccessible followed. The Zodiac with the expedition leader inspected the conditions. Everyone was convinced that a landing was assured, so it was a great disappointment when we were told it wasn't possible. Due to the oil spill, the rocks were very slippery, and the risk of slipping was too great for a safe landing. As compensation, a Zodiac cruise around the island was conducted. Fortunately, we found the Nightingale Island finch and the subspecies of the Tristan thrush during the cruise. For the Wilkinson's finch, you had to go to the top of the island, so unfortunately this species wasn't seen. After the Zodiac cruise, we set course for Tristan da Cunha again. We stayed at the archipelago for a third day. Once anchored again at Tristan, a briefing was held. There were two options for the next day. Return to Nightingale Island for a landing, which was virtually impossible, or another landing on Tristan. We opted for another landing on Tristan. That evening, the landing on Inaccessible Island was celebrated extensively, and bottles of champagne were popped. The next morning, we boarded the Zodiacs again, which took us to Tristan. Our goal for the day was to climb the volcano. I was light-packed and had left my camera on board. That turned out to be a good thing, because if the volcano had been a few meters higher, I wouldn't have reached the summit. Back at the boat, the Atlantic yellow-nosed albatrosses were lured with fish scraps, and beautiful photos were taken. Our time on Tristan da Cunha is over, and in the evening we weigh anchor and set course for Saint Helena. We couldn't have been luckier these past few days. The landing on Inaccessible and the two landings on Tristan da Cunha were unique, and the sighting of the Inaccessible Island Rail is still being talked about. For the next 5 days we sail across the deep Atlantic Ocean. The crossing to Saint Helena is approximately 2,500 kilometers. It's a crossing with virtually no birds, and the camera has 5 days off. I haven't been able to take a single photo during this time. We also noticed from the temperature that we're sailing further and further into tropical waters, as it's sometimes very hot on deck. To prevent boredom, the crew organizes all kinds of activities and lectures. After 5 days, we finally see the first birds again, signaling our approach to land. On April the 19th, we arrive in Saint Helena, where we will stay for 2 days. Saint Helena is a remote volcanic island in the South Atlantic Ocean and a British overseas territory, best known as the place where Napoleon Bonaparte was exiled after his defeat at Waterloo. The capital is Jamestown, and Saint Helena has a population of approximately 4,500. We visit Longwood House, the residence where Napoleon spent his final years in exile and died in 1821. Here we will also see Napoleon's original unnamed grave before his remains were transferred to Paris in 1840. The target species on the island is the endemic Saint Helena plover. This is the only remaining endemic species. All other endemics are extinct. Many seabirds nest on the cliffs along the island, and the red-billed tropic birds were particularly impressive. Our 2 days on Saint Helena are over. Before leaving, we took a boat trip along the cliffs to view the breeding colonies. Afterward, the Planciers weighed anchor and began the 1600-kilometer crossing to Ascension Island, which takes 2 days. This is the final destination of our trip. During this crossing, we again saw virtually no birds. Ascension Island is a remote volcanic island in the South Atlantic Ocean, close to the equator. The island has approximately 900 inhabitants, who live primarily in Georgetown, the capital. We will stay on the island for 5 days, with a dozen other passengers. The Planciers depart the next day with the remaining passengers, who will continue their journey to Cape Verde. In the evening, however, we will visit the turtles together, who come ashore here almost every night to lay eggs. After this visit, we will say goodbye to our fellow travelers. During our stay on Ascension Island, we will stay in a hotel and have rented a car. We can move freely around the island. We visit the Sooty Tern colony and often snorkel in the bay at Comfortless Cove. We also climb the island's volcano. We're getting used to life on land again, and the rhythm of the Planciers is slowly fading from our systems. On April the 30th, we fly to England with the RAF, where we are picked up by Alwyn Boreham, who takes us back to the Netherlands. journey is over. After 40 days of travel, we return to the Netherlands. I look back on a truly enchanting adventure. Although I made this film 14 years later in 2025, the trip is still etched in my memory. The storm in Antarctica with the graceful snow petrels. The landings on South Georgia, surrounded by the majestic king penguins. The mysterious Gough Island, where we heard the eerie calls of the seals first in the morning. The visit to Tristan da Cunha, with the unforgettable landing on Inaccessible Island, with the endemic Inaccessible Island Rail. To this day, no landings have been possible on Inaccessible. The stay on Saint Helena, steeped with Napoleonic history, and the 5 days on the remote Ascension Island, where we watched the green turtles come ashore every evening to lay their eggs. These moments are like stars in my memory, bright and unforgettable. Next follows a summary of the species we saw during the trip. I hope you enjoyed the video.